Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Susan's Just Making It. I'm Susan and I'm here making stuff, messes, chaos, and making it through life. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time watching, welcome. Hope everyone's having a wonderful evening, and if you like today's video, don't forget the thumbs up right down here. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. It's the red subscribe button, and if you subscribe, you can also hit that notification bell and you'll know every time I upload a new video. So the video I am doing this evening is a bit of a rant, so I apologize in advance, but there's some things that need to be said sometimes, and sometimes people don't address it, and sometimes I'm the one that will address it. I know I'm not the only one that some of the things I'm going to talk about have been bothering, because I've seen it brought up a little bit the last few days, so I'll be the one that speaks on it. I don't like the idea of getting on social media and doing these rants, because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you know, and it changes their perception of you. But, you know, I think that the things we don't address or do something about or speak on, we're tolerating and borderline encouraging. So I'm going to put it out there for what it's worth. If you're offended, maybe you're one of the people I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like if you agree with what I have to say. And I don't think I'm alone in some of the things I have to say. It has come to my attention lately that some of the things I put on social media, whether YouTube, Facebook, whatever, that some people don't see the humor in when I'm trying to be funny. It is a sad thing when everybody is so easily offended that you can't even make light of yourself or your own life and stuff without it bothering someone else. Okay, I am not the type of person that gets on social media and downs the next person or criticizes the next person. I feel like if you have that to do, you need to confront the person in person, not on social media. That's a big problem these days, that people will not confront somebody head on, but they'll run right to social media and post something. That's not the mature adult way to handle situations. Okay, I was also brought up in either the wrong generation or by the wrong parents, because I was also taught that if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Now, I see a lot of stuff on social media and in life that I have opinions about, but me saying how I feel, first of all, whoever the person is usually doesn't care. Second of all, it's probably not going to change anything. Third of all, it's not constructive and it's negative. So you know what I do? I keep it to myself. Because if what you have to share or say is negative or nasty, why do you feel you have to say that? A lot of things can be left unsaid and it's just fine. Now, you're going to say I'm a hypocrite because I'm getting on here and saying something. No, I am not singling out a specific person to hurt in some way. I'm just putting my opinion and what I have to say out there. I am not going after anyone in particular. In all of my videos where I speak my mind, I tell you it's my opinion and from my experiences, and to take it as such. But like I said, I have to address a few things, because I think people in general are focusing on the wrong things most of the time. I am almost 51 years old, and I have never been around so many people that are so easily offended, so entitled, and just nasty and hurtful and focusing on the wrong things. Okay, like I hit on, sometimes I make light of my own situations and myself, because I don't think anything is really that serious in life. And this is coming from someone who suffers from depression and anxiety. And if I suffer from those conditions and say nothing's that serious, it's kind of not. And if you can't take things with a grain of salt or laugh a little bit, you're going to have a very miserable life. And nothing's that serious. None of us get out alive. Why live in misery if you don't have to, or you can lighten things up a little bit? And it's one thing if you get offended about somebody saying something about you or your situation, but when you get offended because somebody is talking about their own situation, maybe you need to evaluate that. That's just my personal opinion. Okay? I'm sick and tired of everybody getting offended by everything. Oh, I got offended. Oh, you hurt my feelings. Get over it. In my almost 51 years on the face of this earth, I have been offended a lot. My feelings have gotten hurt a lot. But you know what? I didn't die. I'm still here. Okay? That is part of life. People are going to say things that you don't agree with. People may say things that hurt your feelings. People may say things that are offensive. It's just a feeling. It's all about how you react to it. Okay? With that being said, your feelings are your responsibility. It is not the rest of the world's job to tiptoe around you and walk on eggshells so they don't hurt your feelings. It's not everyone else's responsibility. Now, I'm not saying to go to the other extreme and go out of your way to be hurtful toward other people, but at the same time, it's not everybody's responsibility to protect your feelings. Your feelings are your own responsibility. Okay? And everybody is so easily offended these days. The stupidest things offend people. And you know what's happening? People are easily offended. They are sensitive. They have no backbone. They're entitled. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. No, being offended is just a feeling. It'll go away, and that is your responsibility. Okay? People without a backbone. They're so busy being offended and their feelings getting hurt that they won't stand up for the next person. Because they're all about self. Okay? The whole thing about entitled. Nobody owes you anything. So these people that feeling all entitled, they need to get over themselves too. If you want something in life, it is your responsibility to work for it. Nobody owes you anything. Okay? We're focusing on the wrong things. If the way you get by in life and deal with your problems is to go on social media and just find something to leave a nasty comment about or to pick the next person apart, you need to take a look at yourself and take an inventory. Okay? We're focusing on just so many things that are not that important. And we're so busy focusing on this nonsense that things are happening all around us that need to be addressed, that are much more important, and we're blind to because we're focusing on stupid stuff. Stupid stuff. Okay? And a lot of people have already clicked off because they don't like what I'm saying. I don't care. Okay? And I'm not alone in this. I've been hearing this lately, you know, on social media and people in my personal circle that about people feeling like they have to go on social media and leave some negative comments over stuff that's not any of their business most of the time. Another thing is, I'm not going to mention names because I don't know if it's okay with this particular person, but somebody just posted on YouTube a day or two ago about the tragedy that just happened in Texas with a school shooting. And they were saying that teachers don't get paid enough to put up with the crap that they put up with, and that they're putting their life in jeopardy basically being a teacher because of all of the stuff that's going on these days with the school shootings. And not only that, but even places that these tragedies aren't taking places, they are put in a position of teaching kids that are being brought up not to have respect, and goes back into that entitled thing where nobody can say anything to them. And a comment was made to the effect that it's just school staff responsibility to teach our children the educational agenda. It is not the school's responsibility to raise our kids. And a comment was made to the effect that you want the school to raise your kids but not discipline your kids. And that's very true. Okay? Just from personal experience, when I was younger and part of my school years, I attended primary school in Houston, Texas. And at the time, they probably don't now, but at the time they had corporal punishment. And if you did not want your child to be corporally punished, you had to sign like a release to that effect that your child was not to have corporal punishment. And I imagine it doesn't exist now because everybody would be up in arms. But when I was a kid, it was a thing that if you were misbehaved not in a minor way, but it was a pretty disrespectful or pretty bad thing, that you would be taken out in the hallway and you would get a pop on the butt with a paddle. Corporal punishment. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they don't do that anymore. I don't live in the state of Texas, so I don't know, but I'm guessing that they don't. Now, I don't have an opinion on that because it doesn't apply to me, and I really don't have an opinion. But a lot of parents are not raising their children. They are letting TV, tablets, phones, video games, social media, they're letting that basically raise their kids because it makes it easier for them. Parenting is not an easy job. It is not our job to make it easier on ourselves and to be our kids' friends. We are our kids' parents, and it is our responsibility as parents to raise our children to be productive members of society. Not to make life easy for them, not to not discipline them and to try to be their friend and all that stuff. That's not our job as a parent. Okay? It's like, and if you don't believe in physical punishment, that's your right. But there are other ways to discipline children. I'm not saying that the only way to discipline a child is to put your hands on them. It's not. But with that being said, spanking your child is not child abuse. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for that in the comments. Spanking your child is not child abuse. Beating your child is child abuse. Using a belt, a switch, a shoe, stuff like that, and hitting your child, that's abuse. And leaving them with marks and bruises. And I'm not just talking about physical abuse being abuse either. Calling your kids names, screaming at them, belittling them, neglecting their basic rights like food and clothing and cleanliness and so on. Those are forms of abuse. But spanking your child is not abuse. Taking privileges and things away from them, that is not abuse. If you think I'm wrong, that's your right. Just my opinions. And so many people, and it doesn't help that society is feeding into parents not being able to parent, I guess you'd say. But I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole conversation for another day. But my point is, a lot of these people that are letting the tablets, the phone, the social media, the cable, the video games raise your kids, do you even know what video games they're playing? Do you even know what social media sites they're on and who they're talking to and communicating to and the posts they're reading and the posts they're putting out there? Do you know what they're watching on YouTube and the games they're playing on the Most parents are clueless what the kids are even doing with these electronics. You don't even have a clue what your kids are up to. So that's what I'm talking about. And a lot of these parents are afraid to discipline, and there's going to be those ones out there going, oh yes, but I have to work for a living and I work X amount of hours. I understand that. In today's society, parents have to work, and sometimes 2 jobs, and both parents, and so I get that. I was a single parent and I worked and sometimes 2 jobs, and I was always there hands on with my kids, and believe me, I felt the effects of it. It wasn't for lack of trying. They were getting the discipline at home. There were consequences and things to the bad behaviors. But at the same time, even when a parent is trying at home, and then you send your kids to school, and you have kids going there that their parents really don't care what they do, that's their peer group. So it's like you have to work twice as hard to undo the negative stuff once they walk out the door. And I'm not using that as an excuse. That's a reality. And there's so many parents out there. And like I said, I get you that a lot of parents have to work. But there's parents out there that don't work. And they still don't raise their kids. But don't let a neighbor or a teacher or anyone else say anything to their kids, because then it's a problem. If you are raising your children and you are teaching them right and wrong and consequences and how to behave in the outside world, you're not going to usually have anybody saying anything to your kids if you're doing your job at home. And I'm going to get off this topic because I already know my comments are going to have somebody having something to say, whatever. Just my opinions. And if what I'm saying is bothering you, maybe you're some of the people I'm talking about. Don't get me wrong, I was by no means a perfect parent. I made tons of mistakes raising my kids. When my boys were teenagers, I didn't know if I was going to survive or if they were going to survive because it was so challenging. And I was very critical of myself when they would do things when they were teenagers. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did I go wrong? What am I not doing right? But you know what? My kids are not locked up and never have been. My kids do not have drug habits. My kids are all in their 20s right now. They're not, I have one grandson. My kids are not out making a bunch of kids all over the place. So they're charitable to other people. So my kids are far from perfect. They do dumb things all the time. But I think they turned out pretty good for the most part. And I was by no means a perfect parent. Okay, so I'm not on a soapbox saying, oh, I'm so wonderful and I did such a great job, because I didn't. But I've seen it when I go out and about, the way some kids act, and you can pretty much tell there's not a lot going on at home to correct that. Okay, but I'm going to leave that alone for now, because there's other things to talk about. So let's talk about the people that easily get offended. In the term Karen, which I think is kind of nasty to people that are named Karen that don't act like that. But the Karens out there, that's some of the people I'm talking about. The ones that have to go on social media and always have to have something to say, because half the time it's not even any of their business, but they have to have something to say. The ones that, can I see your manager? And they complain about this and complain about that. And they're entitled and all that other stuff. But the thing is, with the entitled thing, nobody owes you anything. Life is not fair. And people thought I was messed up because even when my kids were very young and they would complain about certain things, yeah, it was a little heartless, but I say life's not fair. You might as well get used to it now. And I know it's kind of cold and messed up, but life is not fair. It probably is never going to be fair. And all these people, I'm offended. You're so busy being offended about the stupidest stuff that you're not even focusing on any important stuff. Okay? A lot of people that are always offended are very selfish people, because they're always worried about their feelings and what somebody's doing to wrong them, that they're not usually focusing on anybody else but themselves. There's a saying about being your brother's keeper, and this could be taken two ways. When I'm saying about being your brother's keeper, I do not mean that you need to be in your neighbor's business, and by saying neighbors, I mean people in general. When I say you're your brother's keeper, it doesn't mean having your nose in everybody's business so you can be the first person in line to gossip. That is not your brother's keeper. Your brother's keeper is when you see somebody struggling financially or needing help or being in a bad place emotionally or mentally. If you see somebody that can't advocate for themselves, can't stand up for themselves, it's our job as a society to advocate and be there for the people that need us. And that's just my opinion too. I'm not Mother Teresa, and I don't expect everybody else to be and stuff like that. But if you see somebody in need, whether it's like a physical need like food and shelter and clothes, or if you need see somebody who's in emotionally at a rough spot or something like that, or just look out for the next person. But so many people don't do that because they're so worried about themselves being offended and not getting what they feel they're entitled to. Okay? So that goes into it too. And am I politically correct? No, I'm not. Some things I am. Some things in the world I think are really messed up, and I'll be the first person to advocate. But politically correct, most of the time I'm not. Because I have my own opinions and my own thoughts. And I think too many people these days are led around like little sheep because they feel they have to be politically correct all the time. Do you not have a backbone or your own opinion about anything? Okay, if there are social wrongs that you need to advocate for, I am all for it. And I'll be the first person in line to help the next person or to advocate for the next person. Like if you fall down, I'll be there to help you. I'll probably laugh first, but I'll help you. Okay? A few things with the political correctness. Okay, well, because of the tragedy in Texas, the first thing I'll hit on is gun control. Okay? Guns don't kill people, people kill people. And the people that are all for gun control hate that. I don't care, because it's the truth. Okay? If you do all this gun control and start taking guns away from people, the only people that are going to have guns are the people that shouldn't, because they're not going to legally obtain them, and they're not going to use them for the safety of them and their family and their property and things like that, they're going to go out and do the stuff they shouldn't be doing. And that's the truth of it. And I don't care who disagrees with me. That's how it is. The people that are going to have guns are the ones that we're trying to take them away from. Okay? Another thing is the inclusion. Yes, everybody's important. Everybody should be included and things like that. Okay? That's not what I'm saying when I move on to this next thing. Today, kids in sports. Okay? I am not an advocate of every child getting a trophy for participating. And if that makes me a bad person, that makes me a bad person. But let me explain myself. If we give every kid a trophy just for participating, instead of acknowledging the kids that excel, what incentive do the kids have to excel? If everybody's going to be treated the same, what incentive do they have to strive, to be better, to be competitive? They don't. Now, don't get me wrong, if kids are in a sport, and I feel like everybody should be included despite their level of ability. Everyone should have a chance, everyone should be included. I'm not saying that. Everyone should go to the pizza party after the game. Everybody should have this, a nice uniform and get a chance on the field. Yes. Trophies, no. They should go to the kids that excel. Otherwise, they have no incentive to excel. Just my opinion again. Another thing that I'm not politically correct about is No Child Left Behind. And before you start filling up my comments or saying what a terrible person I am, let me explain myself there. I have a child that when he was younger had developmental delays and some educational issues, had to be in special ed and stuff like that. He was kept behind a few years here and there. I think twice he got held behind. Was I at the school saying, no, you have to push him? No, I wasn't. Because he needed to be held back until he learned the criteria to go on to the next grade. What good is it to push kids through the school system just to push them through so they're not left behind in the stigma or whatever the reasoning is? We are having kids graduate from school that don't know basic math and can barely read and write. And I'm not just pulling that out of the air. I've seen it. I have worked public servant jobs, like in cashiering positions, and some of these young people, if the point of sale was down or something, they can't even make change without a calculator or a computer in front of them. That's sad. We have kids that can't read cursive. I guess they don't teach that anymore, whatever. They can't read a clock with hands on it. But No Child Left Behind. No. They stay where they need to be until they learn what's required to move ahead. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. We are doing society no favor by pushing people through without them attaining the skills they need to be productive. We're not doing any favors. Initially, you may think it's wonderful, but that's the problem too. Everybody's into instant gratification, instant payoffs. But in the long run, is it for the best? Usually it is not. We're focusing on the wrong things, people. We're focusing on being offended or having to be the troll with something to say. Or here's another one with not being politically correct. Okay? Throughout history, there has been atrocities. There has been horrific things that have taken place. But we cannot change history. We cannot make things that happened in the past unhappen. They were terrible, and there are things that, thank goodness, do not take place today. But we cannot change the fact that they once happened. So trying to rewrite history books and take down statues and not talk about things is not going to change the fact that they did happen. It's just our job in society to make sure that they don't happen again. Probably going to catch flack over that too. But the whole thing is, I got on here initially because, like lately in social media, a couple of people had something to say, and I didn't want to turn it into this whole thing, but I figured since I was here, I might as well put it out there. If you're going to not follow me because of something I have to say, you might as well see what I have to say about a lot of things. So if you're going to unfollow me, I'm going to give you a lot of reasons. Okay? I am who I am. And it goes to having a backbone. So many people they get offended, but they won't stand up for themselves by saying that this is not right, this is how I feel. They're so ready to go with the flow so that they are not looked negatively upon, that they're not even themselves anymore. They just are so eager to be accepted or to not make waves or whatever that they won't stand up even for themselves, let alone the next person. So instead of being offended and having your feelings hurt, why don't you start standing up for somebody else and getting out of yourself a little bit? You know, there's so many people that they have their own opinions, but if it's not a popular opinion, they won't voice them. And I guess that's where I'm at, because I know a lot of the opinions I'm expressing are not popular opinions, but I'm not so without a backbone or so much of a conformist that I'm not going to say what's on my mind. And a lot of people in my life, well, you know, you should keep that to yourself. You shouldn't say that. Be quiet. No, I'm not going to. It goes back to what I've discussed before. We teach people how to treat us. If you let anything fly, it's going to. Okay? And like I said, I'm about happy mediums. I'm not going to go out and just go on a tirade offending everybody and stuff, but I'm still going to voice what I believe in, and I'm still going to be my own person and have my own opinions and stand up for myself, and I'm going to stand up for the next person when I'm able. But there's too many people that are just too into themselves, so entitled, so offended, and all this other stuff that you're not looking at the bigger picture. There are things going on around us, but because we're so focused on ourselves, our entitlement, our being offended, that we're not addressing other issues. For example, back to the tragedy that just happened in Texas. We're talking an elementary school, and the shooter was a teenager. No one noticed a teenager just walking into an elementary school. Nobody stopped this kid. Nobody thought that was out of the ordinary. Again, not to point fingers, and I do not know these people personally, but more than likely this was another situation where's the parenting? I just read something earlier today that this guy was arrested, I think it said 4 years ago, for threatening to go in and shoot a school. So you wait 4 years later for him to actually do it? There are so many other things going on around us, but we're so focused on the stupidest stuff that we're not looking at these other things. I don't understand people. Am I just getting old and miserable? Am I reading too much into it? Am I just so far out there that nobody can understand the things I'm saying? I mean, leave it in the comments. Am I just so far out there and have no clue? Or are there others of you out there that understand what I'm saying? And I could go on all day talking about some of this stuff, but I'm not going to, because nobody wants to hear it. But I guess I'm just trying to put out there, before you have to go out of your way to be nasty towards somebody, or to feel like you're being offended somehow, or your rights are not being respected and stuff, get over it and get out of yourself. I bet these people that are so busy being offended and all this stuff, if they got out of themselves and started doing things for other people and focusing on somebody else and focusing on bigger causes, you would not have time for the nonsense. Okay? And another thing I quickly want to touch on, and then I'm going to shut up and say goodbye, is when I talk about people not disciplining their children and stuff like that, a lot of people say, well, that doesn't apply to me. I don't have children. I don't have grandchildren. It's still your responsibility. This is our future. Okay? You may not be directly involved with these kids as a parent or a grandparent, but what examples are you setting for the next generation? Are you charitable? Are you helpful? Do you go out of your way to help anyone? What examples are you setting? Are you always going around swearing and doing things that you would not do in front of a child that's your own or a grandchild that's your own? They have the saying, it takes a village. It does. Even if you're not directly in that child's circle, if you're in contact with any young people, it's kind of our responsibility to set a good example of what we expect. Everyone's ready to say, oh, this younger generation, this younger generation, this younger generation. Who's raising the younger generation? Take a look at that. If you're not setting a good example and you're not handing down consequences and making expectations known, it's not the younger generation, it's what we're teaching them and what we're accepting from them. So I probably left out some things I wanted to say. I probably threw some stuff in there that I probably shouldn't have. And if I offended anyone, I'm kind of sorry, but kind of not. And I didn't mean to get on here and turn it into a personal rant. But and I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone because I talk to other people. I've been hearing other people talk about some similar things and posting about some similar things. So I know I'm not entirely on my own in some of my thoughts. And like I said, I hope it doesn't come across that I'm abusing this platform, but some of this needs to be said. People are just focusing on too many of the wrong things. We have people out there taking their own lives either because they're being bullied, because they borderline are surviving, because there's no support system, there's not mental health help, that nobody's noticing the signs, they don't have anybody to go to and all stuff. And it just keeps happening. It keeps happening. And a lot of stuff happening, it's not because there's not signs. It's just nobody pays attention. I'm just beginning to think that people are got their face so far in the phone, they don't see what's going on around them. And I don't want to sound like everybody's mommy and stuff, but I don't know. I just felt like I needed to put some of this out there because there is so much nonsense going on. And people are so oblivious to the bigger picture. And no, it's not my job to preach. And no, it's not my job to teach. I'm just putting it out there because a few things have been really bothering me the last few days. And I just need to get it off my chest. And I guess I'm not the kind of person that looks for validation outside myself. But I guess I need to know I'm not alone in some of the things that I have to say. For whatever it's worth. If I have a few subscribers drop off, it is what it is. Not that that's my intention and not that I want that. But I would rather see a number go down than to be complacent and not say what's on my mind for the sake of not losing a number. And like I said, I've had a little bit of negative type of feedback about my sense of humor or something I had to say, and it's whatever. I'm mature enough to say it's whatever. But I figure if that's the case, if one little thing I said or did offended you, I'll give you a whole lot to be offended by. And if you don't like me because of something I said, you're probably going to dislike me even more now. But I'm okay with that because I have a backbone. And I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not to keep the peace. That's the problem. People are not willing to speak up for what needs and say what needs to be said. So I'm going to say goodbye because I probably put enough out there to get myself into trouble. For those that have stuck around, I appreciate you doing so. For those that are in agreement with anything I have to say, I guess we think alike. For those that got offended or don't like what I have to say, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But I'm not going to stay shut to protect other people's feelings because, like I said, I'm not going to go out of my way to offend you, but your feelings are not my responsibility. Just like the things that people say and do to me, it's my responsibility how I deal with it. And I would like to think I'm mature enough to do that. So until the next video, if any of you decide to come back, I'm just going to say bye before I get myself in more trouble. And I appreciate every single one of you. And if you do agree with anything I had to say, thumbs up, leave a comment. Try to be nice, but if you're not, I'm mature enough to handle it. So until next time, bye everyone.